Hey guys, welcome to the Adrenal Body Type webinar. So get some paper and a pen out because you want to take some notes, okay? This is going to be an awesome webinar, so let's get started right now. So who am I? Dr. Berg. Most of you know me. For those of you that don't know me, I was in practice for 27 years, and in my Northern Virginia office, I was a director of my office, and I also taught at Howard University as an associate professor in the area of health and nutrition, okay? I also have a best-selling book. It's called The 7 Principles of Fat Burning, okay? And I trained over 2,500 doctors over these 27 years. I delivered over 4,900 seminars, and also in my YouTube videos, I have over 2,000 now, and close to almost 52 million views. So you could check me out on YouTube. I have a lot of information. So that's who I am. Really quickly, my story. Okay, so I just want to quickly tell you my story in a thumbnail sketch. I was very unaware of health growing up. I could never just eat a little bit of sugar. I would eat a lot of sugar. I don't think I've ever ate anything green until I was 28 years old, except pistachio ice cream and lime green Jell-O. I never ate a vegetable. I always justified it. I told people I would eat healthy when I graduate and when I have my own place. Of course, that never worked. But anyway, I lived in Wisconsin growing up, and we pretty much ate a lot of junk food, all-American diet. And my grandmother was an amazing cook. She would bake pies and cakes and things, and I would eat them, the whole thing. So in high school, I wrestled. I usually did very good in the beginning of the year. I was usually undefeated. Towards the end of the year, I would burn out because of the energy I lost, because I was eating sugar. I would starve my body, cut weight, weigh a certain amount, and then pig out right after that. And that was really bad. So anyway, I did go to state. I did wrestle in college. End up very brittle bones. I started fracturing my bones. So I had a lot of nutritional deficiencies that I was unaware of back then, because it didn't show up externally, it showed up internally with fatigue, with just fragile bones. That was actually vitamin D, vitamin K2, and probably vitamin C. Anyway, had a lot of dental work. Probably every single tooth was filled with amalgam. I had those out. Never really helped me because my nutrition just didn't change. I was in the military, in the reserves. I was in the Army Reserves. I went into basic training, top of my group, and then when I got to basic training, I could barely do a push-up because of my nutrition, because of my health. It was very weak. My recovery was very low. I barely passed the PT test. Okay, you couldn't tell on the outside, but the inside was pretty bad. So when I was 28, that's when I hit my lowest point of my health. I had chronic fatigue syndrome. I had severe constipation. I had insomnia. There was nights I didn't even sleep 1 minute, the whole night. That was like torture because I would lay there and I couldn't fall asleep. I had arthritis in my hands and my back. I had bloodshot eyes. I was searching everywhere. We would drive down the street with my wife, and I'd say, maybe they can help me. Maybe they can help me. I'd come with a bunch of vitamins, start taking these. I had a warehouse of vitamins, and this kept going on and on and on, to the point where I'm like, you know what, I got to do something. To make a long story short, I found someone that just kind of stood back and said, okay, we're not going to give you more pills. We're going to find out what's going on. And my adrenals were completely burned out. My liver was messed up. So he started putting on a program that was very strict. And I was willing to do anything at that time. And so I was like, some people are not willing to change. I was like, hey, just tell me what to do. I'll do anything. So I started feeling better. And I started feeling better. And then I told my wife, I said, that's it. There's something to this. I want to get into nutrition. I want to get into the area of more in depth into nutrition. And she says, you don't know anything about it. I said, I'm going to learn. So I spent nights and weekends studying, flying around the country, going to postgraduate certifications. I was obsessed about it for a long time, and I still am as well. But anyway, I started getting better and better, and of course now I want to help other people with the same problems that I had. And I have a lot of reality because I had pretty much every single symptom that every single person has told me. In fact, all the videos that you were watching on YouTube, those videos are probably all about me and what I did to handle my own body. All right, so that's my story. So we want to talk about the adrenal body type because this relates to not just myself, but a lot of other people. But you can see it starts off, you start off looking okay, and then you notice you start gaining weight in the midsection, bigger, bigger, and bigger. So the adrenal is more midsection weight, skinnier legs, okay? The adrenal gland sits on top of your kidney. You got two of them, and they're the gland that adapts your body to stress. So in other words, it changes the physiology of your body to handle and cope with stress. So if you can imagine a tiger chasing you, what would happen to your blood pressure, your blood sugar, your muscles? Every adaptation that occurs is like the adrenal adapting your body to that stress state. Our bodies were not designed to live in a sustained stress environment for that long, especially mental stress. And what happens over time, it burns the adrenal glands out. So you get chronic fatigue syndrome. So basically, I'll get into the symptoms, but that's really what the adrenal gland does. And I think it's important to know the function. Oh, by the way, the adrenal gland, if you get a blood test on the adrenal gland, rarely will it show a problem until sometimes 90% of the adrenal has to be unresponsive before it shows up clinically. Now, you can do a saliva cortisol test, and that's a cool test to do, but you have to do it every 4 hours because it goes on a circadian rhythm, okay? But I'm just going to give you all the symptoms so you can kind of indicate it. I'm not going to wait for a blood test to tell me I have an adrenal problem, because if you have a majority of the symptoms, then you have it. So number one, you're very dispersed, thinking all the time, excessively kind of thinking about this, and you switch gears over here. I guess it's multitasking. It's hard to focus, basically. Your attention goes all over the place. Sometimes when you go into a room, you'll spot things that are out of order because the adrenal glands are all about survival. So anything that is against survival, like insanities, you can't tolerate insanities too well, or things out of order, or things that are incompetent people, slow people, stupid people, like they might really rub you the wrong way too much. You also have a hard time getting up in the morning. You don't feel bright. You don't jump out of bed and go, yeah, you need coffee. You can't get out of bed sometimes. Also, you're tired during the day, okay? Since the adrenal gland is a survival gland, what you're doing mentally is you're trying to survive. You never feel like you're surviving, though. You never feel like you're really doing well. You're trying, but you're never getting there. You're unsatisfied with your survival. And you're basically solving problems 24/7. Why? Because solving problems is a survival action. So your basically adrenal glands are causing you to fixate on problems, and constantly. Even if there's none there, you'll find one, right? Even if you go in a room, you might be the person that spots that thing that's not quite right. You might have a wonderful day and have that one little thing that haunts you because it's a problem that just sticks with you. Like you ignore all the good stuff, but you focus on the bad stuff. So that's what happens, and that can keep you from sleeping. Also, the stress depletes certain B vitamins as well. This is someone that's dispersed, so it's hard to focus. So someone's talking to you, but you're actually over here. You're not really listening all the time. So that's just the adrenal issue. Your tolerance for stress is not as high as it should be. So if you can tolerate a lot of stress, you probably have good adrenals. Libido is low. This is a little fence right here. Low libido, eventually. Also, your blood pressure goes up. Which way am I going here? Okay. Dispersed, I already talked about that. Inhaler because of asthma. Allergies and asthma are adrenals. Think about what they give you if you have allergies or asthma. They give you steroids, bronchosteroid inhalers. What's that? That's adrenal hormones. So anything that's treated with adrenal hormones is adrenal problem. Asthma is one, allergies is one. Look at it, acne is adrenal, high androgens. Blood sugar issues are adrenal because stress can trigger the release of insulin. Yeah, interesting. You could become a diabetic through stress events. Okay, snoring, sleep apnea is adrenal as well. Leg cramps, Why? Because with the adrenals, you lose potassium. You lose calcium through the urine. Wow, interesting. Also brain fog. Like you're always foggy, you're not as clear. Hair loss, alopecia, is an adrenal. It's autoimmune. All autoimmune diseases are treated with prednisone or cortisone. Why is that? Because they're triggered by a stress event and their adrenal issues. And because the adrenals control the white blood cells and they control the immune system. An area that people don't look at. So what we're trying to do is I want to connect the dots between, this kind of goes beyond the diet, and we're talking about the stress connection to weight and other problems as well. Hot flashes. Why? Because the adrenal glands are the backup gland to the ovaries during menopause. So that's another interesting thing. So we have facial hair, that's androgens, sinus issues, have to use the bathroom frequently, especially at night, is adrenal, fluid retention, cravings for carbs, breads, salt, okay? Carbohydrates, breads, and salt, because the adrenal gland basically turns your own food and muscle tissue into sugar, which raises the insulin. All these people that are insulin resistant, it could come from the stress event as well, not just the diet. So if you're on a ketogenic diet and you're not losing weight, well, let's look at this. Let's look at the cortisol connection, because that could be why. Loose collagen underneath the arms, memory loss. You go downstairs and like, okay, what am I going in here for? Loss of names. Why? Because the adrenal gland activates cortisol that actually decreases oxygen in the brain. It kills brain cells. Upstairs, here's a perfect example of adrenal. Anything incline, going upstairs or up a hill, you get out of breath fast. Your legs get heavy when you exercise up an incline. When you do flat surface exercise, you're fine, but incline is where you're going to know you're going to run out of oxygen really fast. High altitude, not good. A lot of bloating with adrenal because it affects the digestion. Think about the flight or fight mechanism shuts down a part of the nervous system that affects digestion. And you'll feel bloated after you eat. And your stomach will swell. So let's say you wake up in the morning, your stomach is a little bit lower, and then at the end of the day, it's like swell out to here. That's adrenal. Could be inflammation too. Heartburn, GERD, acid reflux. It's all the same thing. That's adrenal. Low tolerance to incompetent people or low tolerance to stress. Fly off the handle easily. Hard to just be calm all the time in stressful environments. Get tired after you eat. All these symptoms really mimic diabetes, don't they? Well, that's because cortisol is really close to insulin as far as what's happening. Cortisol will actually increase your insulin. This is one of my favorite books. It's called the SIBA Collection of Medical Illustrations, Volume 4, The Endocrine System by Frank Netter. I have probably 10 or 12 of these books because they go, I use them so often. But anyway, on page 84, this is amazing. This kind of summarizes high levels of adrenal hormone cortisol action, okay? Look at this. You have high cholesterol, low vitamin D levels, excessive brain stimulation. Look at glucose, increased insulin, diabetes, gastric acidity. These are all the symptoms I talked about. Look at loss of potassium, electrolytes, sodium, cyst or inflammation, arthritis, acne, immune problems. There's so many issues. Fat that accumulates in the central part of your body. Amazing. This is the typical advanced adrenal issue where you got the belly fat. Why is it going there? Because your body is holding fat around the vital organs as a survival mechanism. It's going to eventually grab your butt muscles and turn them into belly fat. So your butt becomes your belly, okay? And then the legs start getting thinner because your body's going to rob proteins from the quadricep. So in other words, your adrenals are destructive. They break down protein in your muscles and they turn it to sugar and they convert it to the belly fat. This is all a survival mechanism. So you have muscle wasting, going upstairs out of breath, stretch marks, bruising, acne, buffalo hump. But other than that, you're perfectly fine. Here's what happens. These two, this is what it looks like. You got two adrenals on top of the kidney, and they're pumping out a lot of cortisol that's going right into this gut right there. So that's what people look like. They get kind of rosacea or red cheeks as well. Okay? So, cortisol effects on the joints causes arthritis. Dementia, because of it will just causing plaquing of the brain and decrease oxygen. Rheumatoid arthritis, it's autoimmune. High cholesterol, high blood pressure, osteoporosis, and diabetes. I mean, there's a lot of people that have these conditions, but they're not really educated on the adrenal. So now what we want to do is I want to talk about, here's the biggest problem, the obvious problem. It's this: obesity is a disease. That's not true. But what happened is the medical profession has assigned obesity as the culprit. They're not looking deeper. I mean, this is like in 2013, the American Medical Association voted to classify obesity as a disease. In one day, 78 million adults, 12 million kids were instantly diagnosed with this disease. Now we can put them on treatment. They voted this into existence. It wasn't any type of other like medical evaluation other than they voted on it, okay? Well, what I want to do is I want to show you what to do for the adrenal gland itself so we can go deeper into what's really causing this problem. Here's the problem. The adrenal gland has an outside and an inside, okay? It has an outside and inside. And the inside is all nerve tissue. The outside is all gland tissue. The inside of the adrenals have what's called the sympathetic nervous system. Now, you don't need to know that. All you need to know, it's like the flight or fight mechanism. And the flight or fight is like the on switch. So in the body, you have the on switch that actually turns things on and accelerates things and gets things more stressed. And then there's an off switch in the body as well. It's called the parasympathetic. So in your body, you have an on and off switch, okay? Well, if you look at the off switch, all these nerves that come to different organs, the off switch is actually in the top part of the neck, right? In the lower part here. And the on switch is all in the mid-back. But if we look at these wires, it goes right to the adrenal gland. So there's an on switch for the adrenal. That's sympathetic connection to the adrenal, but there's no off switch. There's no parasympathetic control over the adrenal, the inside of the adrenal. What does that mean? It means that over time, you can rev up that adrenal, but there's nothing that really brings it down. There's not like a neurological off switch that you can just turn off. And that's why so many people are almost, they get stuck in a stress state and they can't turn it off. So what am I saying? I'm saying that all stress tends to accumulate. Now, how do I know that? I'll show you why I know that. But just think about it for a second. You know, you were a kid, you had injury, you had stress, you ate food things that were stressful, you've been through emotional losses and stress. If you take someone that has a lot of stress events in their life, they nearly always have bad adrenals, versus someone that has no stress in their life, they have really good adrenals. So it's really the accumulation of stress that really wears out the adrenals more than anything. Look at pregnancy, hysterectomy, that's surgeries, tonsillectomy, infections, severe losses. My mother-in-law, for example, she pretty much had almost every organ removed, the thyroid, the ovaries, the gallbladder. And then later in life, she started getting surgeries for other things like a fracture, and then going out under anesthetics, which is very stressful to the body. And she had like several of those. And I noticed when every time she had that, she kind of lost her cognitive function, and you can see the stress building up on her body. She just didn't recover like she should have. But anyway, the point you need to know is that your body's like a pincushion, and you've been accumulating stress for a long time. So that's really what does it. And even if you just take the subject of weight, right? Take a look at when you started gaining weight. Was it after a stress event? Was it after a pregnancy? Was it after a loss? Take a look at that. If it was, then we know, we need to improve the adrenals. So again, this webinar is all about going beyond the food, okay? We're just talking about another angle into why people gain weight. So stress does accumulate, okay? If you take a look at injuries and traumas and infections, I mean, I've had them. Okay, so now let's get to a little test that I have in my office. And this is called heart rate variability. What is this thing, heart rate variability? It actually is a tool to measure something called the autonomic nervous system. So this is an amazing book on autonomic nerves. The autonomic nervous system is composed of the nervous system that's a foundational system that's behind everything that runs on automatic, okay? You have two systems, you have actually three systems, but you have the flight or fight, and then you have it's called rest and digest. So we got the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. So this little gadget measures both of those states. So you can get an idea of what's happening to a person's sympathetic nervous system, what's happening to their stress state in a rest state. Okay, you can actually visualize their recovery state or their parasympathetic state. Okay, and I've tested thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people. So, and it's quite interesting. I can look at this graph and you don't even have to tell me anything about yourself, and I can tell you all about what's going on inside. It's really cool. Here's two graphs. The small dial here should always be right up here. It should be very, very high, okay? And the tall dial should be straight up and down. So it should be like 3 o'clock. And I don't have a normal here, but anyway, you can see the tall dial it should be up and down, it's too high. And the bottom dial should be up here and it's coming down, but it's still pretty high. So this person right here is kind of stuck in stress even when they're relaxed. So typically they would be thinking more, analyzing, can't calm down, can't sleep. But because they're sympathetic, the parasympathetic, this is the recovery system, is quite high, they probably are not going to feel anything bad. They're going to probably cope with stress fine and feel fine. It's only when this thing burns out that you start feeling it. So this person will feel okay despite having a high level of that flight or fight mechanism, okay? But this one, look at this one. This person's the sympathetics, that's the flight or fight, is kind of where it should be. But look where the recovery is. It's way down here. It should be way over here. So basically they lost their recovery. This person is going to be a lot worse off. They're going to get overwhelmed by stress easily. They're going to not cope well. They're going to have low tolerance to stress. They're not going to sleep too well because this recovery graph is not there to get them to bounce back. So they're going to have an adrenal issue big time. Cortisol, the hormone for the adrenal that makes your belly fat, is one of the hormones that makes you fat. And it's a dominating hormone, which means even if you eat good, you exercise, and you take your vitamins and do everything, if this hormone is too high, it will nullify all the good things that you're doing, okay? So it's not about triggering the fat-burning hormones, it's about avoiding the hormone that blocks these, okay? So the most important thing, it's 1,000 times more important to avoid stress or do things to handle stress than it is to try to stimulate or take something to try to boost your fat-burning hormones. So just make mental note of that. Now I want to talk about the number one single most important thing if you have an adrenal body type is to fix your sleep, okay? Adrenal cases don't sleep. They can't get to sleep. They don't stay asleep. They wake up. They don't feel refreshed. At night, you go through these 4 waves of sleep, and you should feel rejuvenated. With adrenal, you don't get that, so you're not going to feel rejuvenated. So this is what we need to fix, number one. Exercise, essential, but what kind of exercise? Walking, low intense walking. Why? Because that is lots of oxygen and low stress. Okay, so walking is the best exercise for the adrenal, and you need to do it every single day, like 45 minutes to an hour. Yoga is the second best thing, but sometimes yoga can be intense, so just do the light type of yoga. People stress. This is another big one, right? Probably 50% of the people that I see, they're stressed out because of other people, relationships, their marriage, their kids, parent, coworkers. Oh my gosh, it's crazy. So you're going to have to deal with that, but just realize that that could be the culprit. So you really need to either get new friends, get new family, get new coworkers, if possible. I don't think that's possible, but the point is that you need to deal with that and avoid situations as much as you can. But that's a big one. So you don't look like that right there. Lots of space is good. Change of environment. Go on a vacation. Get out there. Get space. Don't sit in your room or watch TV. Watching TV is not a stress-reducing thing because it's constantly, you're not getting enough space. You're looking at a screen with pictures, okay? But this is a very therapeutic thing. In fact, I know people, even when they have food allergies, they'll go to another country, they get space, they eat like crap, and they still lose weight. Why is that? Because of the space. I had a patient, who he would get space like this. His belly literally would shrink, and he'd come back, and it just blows up. So I know that that's important. Because look at, with adrenal, you're thinking all the time, right? And all the thinking activates the adrenal. So you want to actually get in a situation where you just stop just analyzing things so much. And that's why it's important to get out there and walk and not sit in front of the computer too often. The sugar has to go. We need to bring the sugars down to zero because the sugar will deplete nutrients and raise insulin and block any chance that you're going to lose weight, okay? Hidden sugars are fruit. Yeah, fruit. Grains, including oatmeal, can block your ability to burn fat. Yogurt has, even the plain has like 10 grams of sugar. Alcohol will also mess up the liver and bump you out of fat burning for at least 48 hours. Look at an apple. An apple has 19 grams of sugar. Unfortunately, I used to recommend eating apples, but I'm going to tell you right now, I don't recommend that anymore, okay? In my book that I'm updating, you won't see that anymore. We recommend not consuming apples because of the amount of sugar. And also, a lot of them are GMO. So we want to avoid fruit, especially the sweet apples. Now, let's say you're not trying to lose weight. Well, you could probably get away with it, but I'm just telling you, there's a lot of sugar in these apples, unfortunately. But I don't want to deprive you, okay? Because every time I tell people not to have something, guess what? They want it more. So there are things that you can do as substitute foods so you can eat these foods and not feel like you're deprived. I have tons and tons and tons of alternative foods. You can search Dr. Berg, keto-friendly eat meals, and you'll find these recipes all over. And I recommend that you start making some. The next thing you want to do is increase potassium. Why? Potassium not only is a physiological tranquilizer and calms the adrenals down, but we need about 4,700, which would equal about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's 10 bananas or 5 avocados every single day. Now, instead of doing the bananas and avocados, I recommend doing the salad, a big salad, about 7 to 10 cups, not in all one sitting. Of course, I do it, but you don't have to. Just a couple of big, huge salads a day. And I highly recommend that you do that because that'll give you your potassium. You cannot fix adrenals without potassium. Potassium is needed to also lower insulin. Potassium will help restore the adrenal glands and help you sleep. It's very, very vital. As far as protein, you want 3 to 6 ounces. You want 3 meals a day or 2 meals a day, okay? But make sure that they're protein and fat, and you add the vegetable to that as well. You don't have to consume what I consume. If you're a vegan, you don't have to consume this. This happens to be what I consume. I have 4 eggs, a bunch of bacon, nitrate-free organic, without sugar, paleo, and I do a lot of times an avocado. And I'll probably put some cheese in it. That's what I do. But I'll probably consume this. I'll do this like probably 11 o'clock in the morning, and then I won't eat until maybe 4:30. Sometimes I'll do 3 meals. Maybe I'll do a late dinner, small one, but sometimes I'll do 2 meals, but I'm not having snacks because the intermittent fasting, not eating between meals, is really powerful because that will trigger hormones that will block your ability to lose weight. So intermittent fasting is basically not snacking. Another thing I used to tell people to do is snack. Bad advice, so I don't recommend it. 2 to 3 meals a day, no snacking. So how do you do that? You want to add more fat at the meal so you can go longer without eating. What is that going to do? Well, fat's neutral. It won't trigger the insulin factor, okay? It allows you to go longer. Intermittent fasting will help the adrenal glands. Why? Because every time that you fast, it takes the stress off the digestive system and it gets you to burn fat, which is a better fuel system. It's more efficient. And sugar, if you actually rate sugar and your blood sugars go up and down, guess what that does to cortisol and adrenaline? It jacks it up. So we want to do intermittent fasting, okay? Apple cider vinegar, vital to help with your visceral fat in your gut. It actually helps break down fat. And it's really, really, really good for keeping the pH correctly balanced so your body can maximize weight loss. And it also helps blood sugars and cortisol. All right, so now that you know about the adrenals, what do we do about it, okay? How do we fix it? Plan A, right here. You need to go into a desert island or some island and just for the next 6 months and rejuvenate, okay? That's plan A. Sound good, right? And you'll come back, you'll lose tons of weight. If you can't do this right now, okay, there's a plan B, and that is the Adrenal Body Type kit. This is the most popular comprehensive kit, and I want to explain what it does, okay? This kit is composed of the sleep aid, okay? Sleep aid used to be the Adrenal Night formula. What I did is I upgraded it, and I added L-theanine and tryptophan to actually enhance the formula. I had this last night. I take one before bed. I had a beautiful sleep. I'm sleeping longer with it, and I wake up feeling refreshed, no grogginess, there's no hormones. There's not anything in here that's going to activate the wrong hormones. There's not melatonin, for example. It basically supports your adrenal gland and helps you get into rejuvenating sleep. And I take this one before bed, and it's awesome, okay? Number 2, cortisol, adrenal and cortisol relief. This product used to be my adrenal day formula. I added an ingredient called ashwagandha, added more of it, 200 milligrams, and that also helps lower cortisol even more. So it's mainly for high cortisol. When you take this, you take it during the day and you just feel stress-free. You're going to feel like calm. It's going to take that tension out. So the combination of both of these, take this at night, this during the day, one with meal, you're going to feel really, really good, okay? You don't really have to take this with meals. You can just spread it out through the day. You can take maybe 1 in the morning, 2 at night, or it doesn't really even matter. You can take them all together. But this right here has nutrients to support the adrenal gland itself and rejuvenate the adrenal function. The gallbladder. Why are we recommending a gallbladder? What does that have to do with anything? Well, this has a lot of different ingredients, and many people have a digestive problem. They have basically their stomach is fat because they get a lot of bloating, right? So this reduces bloating from digestion because it has bile salts and it has enzymes and it helps things for the stomach. It's very comprehensive, but it also has purified bile salts that help dissolve visceral fat on the gut. So this is more of a fat dissolving thing, okay? And then we have the trace mineral. What is the trace minerals? Trace minerals are basically plant-based minerals. Plant-based minerals are 15,000 times smaller than regular minerals. The plant-based minerals are good for building proteins, collagen, hair, nails, skin. So when you lose weight, the last thing you want to do is end up with loose skin. This makes the skin tight. It makes this collagen look good. It makes your skin look great. It's good for nails. It's good for hair. So this is really good for your protein. So that way when you lose weight, you look good. So you don't look bad. This kit also comes with a really cool body type program, online program, that give you a lot more information on many different topics related to the adrenal. And then also the digital version of the book, okay? This gives you a lot of background data on the adrenals and the other body types. Now, there's also 2 very cool bonuses that it comes with. One is a meal creator, which, you know, you're going to wonder, what am I going to eat, right? Well, you'll have access to a very cool program for the rest of your life. It's included to basically, within 30 seconds, pick the meals that you want, press a button, and generate an entire week of foods, okay? and you can set it for 3 meals a day or 2 meals a day. And boom, you have the whole thing. Now you can actually not focus on what you're going to eat tonight. You already have the plan for the whole week. It's awesome. Okay, so that will help you. And then the second bonus is this cool booklet. Okay, this booklet is How to Burn Fat and Fix Your Metabolism. This is a summary of my new book that's coming out, that I don't have out yet, but it's coming out, that you can get through in about 20 minutes. It's just the key things you need to know, and it's a quick read, and you just follow this and you can jump in and get started. A lot of people just love this booklet, and you can buy it or you can just get it as part of it, but it allows you to get the nitty-gritty and what to do, and also how to address the insulin connection as well. So I'm going to throw that in there as well. And so that's the kit. Now, right now I'm doing a special. You can get 10% off the entire kit. So I put a link on this page or down below, depending on what you're looking at. Okay, so here's the kit right here. This includes everything. I can't promise you that the 10% off will be activated when you're watching this, because it's for a period of time. So you just want to check to see if the link is still working. If it's not working, just get it for regular price. But here's the point. A couple questions. People want to know how long does this last? If you're taking the usual amount, which is one of these before bed, this will last 3 months. If you're taking one with a meal, this should last about 1 month. Sometimes if it's 2 meals, it'll last 2 months or 1.5 months. And then this will last, depending on how many you take. Sometimes it's just 1 you're taking, sometimes it's 3. It'll last between 1 and 3 months. And this will last between 1 and 3 months, depending on how much you take. But here's the thing. These two products are really not long-term products. You may like to take this on a period of time or over a period of time, and you may want to take this if your life is very stressful, but it lasts 3 months. So this program will last anywhere between 1 and 3 months, okay? But the knowledge that you're going to learn from the book and the summary charts and the videos are priceless. So if you want to get the kit, click down below, and please send me your success story. Thanks so much for watching.